financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is when behind on the house in taxes, Chapter 13 can save your you-know-what. Good morning, Brian Small.
Good morning, Ken.
I know that wasn't part of the outline.
What a fun topic we're going to talk about today.
Jeffrey Linden.
Good morning, Ken.
We'll just let Brian's statement hang.
Well, Brian
Are those
has a
new glasses?
twisted sense of fun. Well, it's an interesting story. They're often new glasses because they're like $4 Costco glasses that fall off 7 times a week in various places, so I'm always having to replace them. So technically, yes, these are new.
Joe Frizard, good to see you from Smasco Law. You're back.
Thank you for having me.
Are you impressed with the fact that I noticed this?
I do. It's nice to be acknowledged, noticed. You pay attention to things. It's good.
Because a little short story. I had, who's still a good friend of mine, Bob Nersessian. I went to law school with him. I saw him all through 3 years of law school. He then joined our law firm, and he was with us for, I think, 4 or 5 years before he then moved to Las Vegas. And one day, he came into the office, and Bob was kind of a big, burly guy, and he says to me, "What's different about me?" And I looked at him, and I said, "Bob, I don't know. Tell me, what's different?" He says, "I shaved my beard."
Oh.
I said, "Bob, I never knew you had one." And he goes, "Oh." So for some reason, so I picked up your glasses, but I don't know if your statement of being observant is 100% accurate. And I think there was a period of time on the show where somebody pointed out a picture that they had snuck into my credenza there that I wasn't aware of for about 2 years. You remember that?
Yeah.
So, let's set the stage on behind the house and taxes in Chapter 13.
Let's be honest. This morning, you didn't know whose office was whose in the suite.
Who's this guy?
Joe Frizard.
Oh, okay.
From
I don't think we
Smasco.
said hello to him yet.
Yes,
Yeah, we did.
Oh.
Oh, now you have the problem. Some-timers can creep in even when you're a young-timer.
He's a consultant elder law expert.
Setting the stage. Client is 9 months behind on his mortgage.
And this
Their
is rather common, being 9 months behind on the mortgage, because right now, a lot of the mortgage companies are offering you the opportunity to go into a forbearance agreement for 6 months or so if you are suffering from a financial trauma. However, what they don't tell you is at the end of the 6 months, you have to write a check for the 6 months that you were in forbearance.
Right.
And they're supposed to, and they do about 60% of the time, modify your mortgage to correct that problem. It's the other 40% where they go, "No, we want our money," that really creates a problem.
Because they evaluate your finances, and if you don't fit within their formulas, that they think that you can afford to make the payment, then they deny you, and then they say the money's immediately due.
Yeah.
And the next thing they do is they start the foreclosure process.
And the next thing they do is, the client does, is call me.
So
Hopefully before
they're
the
9
sale.
months behind on their mortgage. Mm-hmm. They owe taxes. 2024, 15 grand. 23, 15 grand. And then they were good for 22 and 21, but 2020 they owe 10 grand. $100,000 of credit card debt, which is a lot of credit card debt, but would you consider that to be unusual?
Not today.
Not at all.
No, not even a thought.
And then I'm going to walk through different options relative to their house. But before we get to that, on this idea of Chapter 13 in foreclosure, what would you say is the most important thing viewers need to know as to stopping foreclosure?
You must file the Chapter 13 bankruptcy before the date of the sheriff's sale.
Got very loud.
Period. If you wait until after the sheriff's sale has occurred, you are putting a for sale sign in your front yard.
All right. True or false? If you say something louder, it is more true.
False.
True or false? If you talk louder to people who speak a foreign language, they will understand you better.
I want to say true for fun.
Those are two things that we all do all the time. Yes.
That's funny. Okay, so you got a situation where they're behind.
Well, no.
they have-
I have to give you another fact.
Okay.
So now, option one. Mm-hmm. They have $150,000 of equity in their house.
Okay.
Okay. So now that's the scenario. They're 2 weeks away from foreclosure on their home. There's $150,000 of equity in the house. What do you do?
Well, we're going to look at whether or not they qualify for Chapter 13. Chapter 13 being structured reorganization over time where you repay some or all of the creditors you owe them over 3 to 5 years. In this case, these folks, we're going to assume
Assuming they have an income.
assuming that
They
they
have
have
jobs.
income, we have to be able to do 3 things. We have to be able to pay back the arrearage on the mortgage over 5 years. Okay?
So that's 60 months
correct.
divided by $22,500.
Correct. So you're looking at about $375 a month. Takes care of
Did
that.
you just do that in your head?
Yes.
Or did
Does
you
the
do that
interest
ahead of
stop
time?
for that period?
The interest on the arrearage is 0% in a Chapter 13 plan. Then we have to look at the taxes.
Wait a second. It's exactly $375. True or false? You calculated it before I asked the question.
No, in my head, just right then. All right, so then we've got the taxes. We've
Wait,
got
stop,
no.
stop. We have to have a poll. We have to have a vote. Do you believe he calculated it in his head
I think he did. I think he did before.
before?
Yeah.
You've heard of savants, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and this one's an idiot. So.
So you think he's a savant?
I'm done
You're
here.
giving him are you giving him the benefit of the doubt?
I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm saying nothing at this point. I've learned
you're not-
which arguments are
You are
worth
not.
fighting.
You are not voting.
I'm not voting.
Okay, so you lose 2-1. 2
Okay.
There you
2
go.
to 0.
Well,
yeah,
now when we
I
come
heard
back
before.
from the break,
I
I'll
will
actually
never.
explain how
I
all
will
this
never
works.
believe that you calculated that in your head.
Okay, break. We'll be back.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
You know, Dad made us promise we would never put him in a nursing home.
I know, but he found that new caregiver on the internet, and I'm getting worried.
Don't worry, honey. I know just how to take care of you.
I'm sure you do.
Maybe it's time to call Samasco Law.
You know, I've heard of them. All my friends on Facebook use them.
Take the stress out of your family's future. Reach out to Samasco Law and set a course through life's difficult times. Samasco Law, protecting what means most because that's what we do.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, It's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so we're back. So I'm going to put to bed the issue of the division and the 375. But so they got to come up with they got to be able to afford 375 a month for 60 months just to be able to come current on the mortgage. But you all got the tax. You got the taxes and the credit card. Keep going.
Okay, so now they owe income taxes. There's two types of categorizations of it's three categories of income tax debt. There's secured tax debt, where the IRS has liened the assets of the debtor. There's priority taxes. Priority taxes are those taxes that came due within the last 3 years. So that would be the years 24, for this example, the taxes due for the year ending 24, the taxes due for the year ending 23, and the taxes due for the year ending 22. Those are priority. Priority taxes in a Chapter 13 must be repaid in full over the life of the Chapter 13. So here, and then there's general unsecured taxes, which are dischargeable in bankruptcy because they came due at least 3 years ago, they've been filed for at least 2 years, and they haven't been assessed in the last 240 days.
Let me ask you a question. So you got three categories. SPG, secured, which, how do those get paid? What's the story on those? You said the priority has to get paid over 60 months.
A secured tax also has to be paid in full, but it gets paid back at interest.
Where the priority has no interest?
No interest.
So if the fair assessment is SPG, secured is really, really bad, or is the worst of the taxes. Priority is second bad, and then G for general is actually good, because that's the same as a credit card?
Yes. However, with the secured taxes, they can only have a lien to the extent of the asset's value, the equity that you have. But that's including your socks and underwear too.
So as to the house, how does that work?
So if the IRS puts a lien on the house, let's say they owe $40,000 and they put a lien on the house for $40,000, you have to repay that $40,000 in the Chapter 13 in full over that 5-year stretch. In this case,
with interest.
With interest. Usually about 8-9%.
So it would be better to file the Chapter 13 if you had a tax problem and you wanted to address the taxes before IRS actually filed the lien, or can they lien you after you file the case?
No, they can't lien you after you file the case.
Not for a bankruptcy case, but tax liens are general liens. So tax liens actually attach to anything that you have when they file it, anything you acquire while the lien's in place.
How quickly does IRS go to the point of filing a lien on your taxes?
It's actually...
Now it's pretty quick.
I was going to say it's actually pretty quick, but it's not like you wouldn't have liens yet for 23 and 24.
No, you probably would for 20 in this scenario.
Maybe for 20. But let's assume for the sake of this discussion...
Well, that's interesting. So if you have a lien, can you still discharge the tax?
You have to pay the tax.
You have to pay it in bankruptcy.
But if you have a lien and you qualify as a Chapter 7 candidate, you will discharge, and the tax is old enough, you will discharge your personal obligation to pay the debt. The lien attaches to your assets.
Okay.
And
so if you have no assets, then you're fine. But if you have assets, it's still a problem.
Maybe.
For a while.
But remember, the tax liens expire after a certain period of time. So in this case, we're just going to look at it and say, all right, they have priority taxes due for 24 and 23, $30,000. That has to be paid back over 60 months.
So that's
$500 per month.
So now we have... Anyone ever see the movie Dave?
Yes.
Dave is one of my favorite movies. We're in the scene where he's trying to add up the money to save the $600 million from the budget, in order to keep the child shelter home, the shelter money for children. So you have $375 for the mortgage. You've got $500 for the tax priority is $875.
Right.
Okay, keep going.
So now we have to look at what's the next test is the liquidation analysis. Okay. What would the creditors get if the client qualified for a Chapter 7? Even though we're going to put them in a Chapter 13, the liquidation analysis says how much must they repay to their creditors, regardless of whether or not 375, 500, whatever.
So I've got $150,000 of equity in the house.
Right. So if $150,000 worth of equity in the house, there's two ways I can protect that equity, and so that the liquidation analysis is lower or nothing. So if you own your house with your spouse, tenancy by the entirety.
They do.
And there is no joint unsecured debt, credit cards.
All
well, in this
of,
case,
so if all this $100,000,
well, in this case, they have the joint tax debt. But if there's no joint debt at all, then we can protect all of the equity with the tenancy by the entirety's exemption.
So on that, so if these taxes were the husband's taxes and they filed married filing separate, then there would be no joint debt on the taxes.
Correct.
And
And
it's
if there's-
possible that we could have $100,000 of credit card debt, 60,000 husbands, 40,000 wives, no joint
It's
debt.
not uncommon that I have people walk in with 2 stacks of debt, and they're living together, husband and wife, and they don't have any joint debt.
Because that very common now. Because when they issue cards, they send you offers, and I've never gotten an offer for a credit card that was addressed to Kenneth Gross and Bonnie Gross.
Right.
It's always one or the other.
So if they got $150,000
So there's a planning
worth
point
of,
here.
Yes, $150,000 with equity, I can probably protect it. If I can't protect it because there's joint debt, I can use either the federal or the state exemptions and protect at least $50,000 to $70,000 worth of equity.
Okay, so I've got 150. I could collect 50 to 70,000, so I'd have exposure on somewhere between 100 and 80. But before we do that, I want to make a planning
Nah,
point.
there's even less exposure than that.
If you know, let's take this couple. In 2020, they knew from that point forward they had a tax problem. Once you have a tax problem, you need to make a planning decision. Should I, for the following year, file married filing separate? We'll take a break. We're going to stay on that and keep going.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
You know, Dad always asked that we look after Mom when he passed away.
I know, but she insisted on moving down to the Villages, and now she has that new boyfriend, and I am worried. Maybe it's time to just call Samasco Law.
Take the stress out of your family's future. Reach out to Samasco Law and set a course through life's difficult times. Samasco Law, protecting what means most because that's what we do.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Time for announcements. I want to announce THAV Gross has opened a new office downriver in the Horizon Building on Eureka Road. So now we're in Flint, downriver, and also our home office in Bingham Farms. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. You can do it by Zoom conference, in the office, any way that works best for you. Just call 888-235-HELP or go to the website thavgross.com to sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business law issues, elder law issues with Pat or Kelsey, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner. Again, sign up at lawandreality.com or thavgross.com or just call 888-235-HELP. Also, if you go to the website, you'll see there's free reports. Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by Jeff Linden and myself. Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian Small. How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure. Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. And The Retiree's Guide to Social Security by Pat Samasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so that planning point that I'm making is this. When this couple in 2020 realized that they were behind on their taxes $10,000, if once you realize you're struggling to keep up with your taxes and your finances are in need of assistance, if you can have the foresight to say, I'm going to start filing my taxes, married filing separate, to avoid joint debt, particularly if all of the income is one spouse's. And let's say the guy's an independent, he's an independent contractor. That's where he's coming up with taxes. He's an insurance salesman, a real estate salesman, where you don't make your estimates, so you end up paying your next year's tax, your last year's taxes out of your next year's income. If you were smart enough and had the foresight to shift to married filing separate, then all you'd have to do is kick out the $10,000.
Right.
And then you'd have a complete exemption, right?
That's correct.
Okay, now go with your thing. Let's assume that they didn't do that. There's $50,000 to $70,000 of equity.
So it's actually less than that. The liquidation analysis takes into account also the cost of selling the house, 6% real estate commission, transfer taxes, and trustee fees. Even with $150,000 worth of equity, after we apply all of these factors, these people likely will only have to pay back to the Chapter 13, in the Chapter 13 process, the arrears on the mortgage and the priority taxes.
That's the $875.
Yep. And the unsecured creditors, the credit cards, and even the $10,000 worth of taxes from 2020 will get zero.
So as long as I have $875 a month of net income plus enough to cover my regular household expenses?
Plus, which your regular household expenses include your mortgage payment. So your Chapter 13 would include your regular monthly mortgage payment.
So I got $2,500 for my mortgage payment.
Right.
Car payments.
There's other fees.
So as long as I'm making $75,000, $80,000 a year, I'm going to qualify for that Chapter 13.
Most likely, yeah.
Okay.
And that doesn't matter. And so that's $150,000 equity in the home, or even if you only had $40,000 equity in the home.
Wait, that's my next question. What if I only have $40,000 of equity in the home? How did he know that?
You avoid the liquidation analysis problem, and now it's just do we have enough money coming in to fix the problem?
To qualify for the Chapter 13.
Right.
Which if you've got that 70, 60, 75, $80,000 a year of income, you're okay. Your problem is if you're both unemployed, then the Chapter 13 is not available.
Well, no,
right?
then that makes
Or is it?
Generally not.
How do you stop foreclosure then?
Well, you can file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. It does stop the foreclosure, but only temporarily.
And then get a job during that gap period?
Yeah, and then you could convert to a Chapter 13 or file in Chapter 13 immediately upon the end of the Chapter 7. There are many tools in the toolbox.
Sometimes it's a war. And if you're short of ammunition in the first battle, because maybe you don't have the job documentation to support the income you need, but the house is ready to go to foreclosure and the sale is going to be a week from Wednesday.
Well, Chapter 13
Sometimes-
can work also even if Great Aunt Edna is willing to help with family support.
So sometimes you file that case in an aggressive fashion, and then it's kind of like sending the drone in when you don't have troops, and then you then find the troops by the time the second level of the war starts. You don't just surrender and give up and say, okay, take my house, particularly when there's $150,000 of equity.
Now,
in it.
and I will tell people, though, that the alternate choice is if you do get foreclosed, if you haven't made it to the point where you've seen the attorney and filed the bankruptcy and the sale happened yesterday and you're making the call today, you still have the right of redemption in Michigan. So you have 6 months if you have less than 50% equity in your home, and 12 months if you have more than 50% equity in your home, to sell the house or get it refinanced
Because you
somehow.
can sell the house and then preserve, and then
Get your
recover the
equity out.
equity for yourself,
Right.
And then use that equity to buy another house.
And that happens even a lot of times, bringing it back to probate issues. You see somebody being, dad's house is being sold at foreclosure because he wasn't making the payments because he died. And what happens? You have to go through probate court to get letters of authority so you can put the house up for sale. But you still have the right to get some of that equity out if it's there. Don't just assume that the money's gone because the house is being foreclosed.
We just did that. I just did that.
And get the
In a probate case.
you need to get the right advice in order to know what your rights are. You can't just assume. Don't just rely on Google AI as saying, "Well, it's too late. You didn't file the Chapter 13 before the foreclosure sale. You lost." There's always another analysis that needs to be taken, and you can't rely on the internet to answer your questions.
Yeah.
I only got 10 seconds left. What about cars? Is there any?
If you're behind on cars, we can fix being behind on cars. If you have debt and you need to deal with it, Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 is going to be a potential solution for you. Using the internet to figure out what is your solution isn't going to give you the